Peace, Chiefs, and Deers. It's Bronzebird here with another video. Before I begin, like and subscribe. Thank you. So, obviously, we understand what's going on in the United States right now at this very moment. The vaccine mandates and just the idea about how Biden is conducting himself with the whole entire thing, what's going on in Afghanistan, and having this whole entire sorrow things about trying to go out there and fix all the problems out there in Afghanistan, even to the point helping these people with aid and all these different things. Now, before I begin, I definitely do think it's crazy that even in Afghanistan, that you have these people going on planes, like literally sitting on top of planes and standing on planes so that they could travel. That is some bizarre stuff because of how crazy the country has gotten. Now, I haven't done a lot of research on what's going on in Afghanistan. I just know the basics. And I understand that when it comes to Joe Biden, for some odd reason, but this is all we know because America has been doing this under our noses for a long time, where they're giving more leeway to immigrant citizens than they are and other things like that. But that's not the topic of today's conversation. What I really want to talk about is about how funny I find it. So many people now coming forward and sitting up there talking about they regret voting for Biden and all these different things. Later on, I'm going to read some tweets to you because I find this completely comical about how people now realize because of the mandates and about how, he's being a little bit slow on decisions and all this other stuff that, oh, well, I never should have voted for Biden. And then certain people are even saying that Trump was a better contender for the American public than Biden is right now. My thing is, people who've been watching this channel or people who know me in real life, I've already seen the bullshit from a mile away. And it's not only because of the fact of the matter, I knew that there was going to be something to happen so that they can get Trump out of office. But I knew that following behind the protocols of liberalism, socialism, whether you want to say Agenda 21 and beyond, that they needed the perfect candidate who was going to abide by it and do it. But now, again, this is what I have to say. Excuse me, not again, but I have to say this. Just because Trump might have been on the opposite spectrum in a control of demolition within the American public as president does not mean he wasn't playing the game too. Now, my idea on politics is I would be conformed into believing now that I am apolitical because I understand exactly how the shit works. They're voted in. They're selected. They're not voted in by your votes. But I really find it funny, again, because the fact of the matter is also, this isn't something I talked about, as a so-called black man having this discussion, whether with close relatives or with friends, certain people had called me a coon because I don't want to vote for Biden and because I chose not to vote for Biden and because I didn't believe he would be a fitting president. I got called a coon for that. So we're going to watch a video and I'm going to read an article to you guys and read some tweets about now this whole entire nostalgia of better days because things is becoming more serious as this whole entire thing with the vaccine mandate is going on and the coronavirus is taking shape and changing the fabric of the American public. So I'm going to show you a video, but I find this completely amazing. Not really, I'm not surprised, but I find it amazing. So much people was talking shit about people who was against Biden, especially when Biden said, "You're not black if you don't vote for Biden." And about how you had a lot of these pro-wackety blacks that had these conversations with Biden as if he gave a shit about doing anything for the so-called black community. It's honestly astonishing to me, but I just want to take this time. And I mean, if you still believe Biden is doing a job, by all means, but to the people who's going to have a change of heart, this video is specifically for you. How funny I find it that you guys changed your mind this whole entire time and you thought we was wrong for having opinions we had, whether we believed in Trump or just didn't really believe in those presidents in general. And also about the fact of the matter that they tried all of these different things. They used, specifically when it came to so-called black people, they used a so-called black woman to entice so-called black men or naysayers within the so-called black nationality pool to go ahead and vote, which was just more of a virtue signaling or a way of saying, vote for Biden, don't vote for Trump. That's all that shit was about. Anybody that wants to tell you those ads was different is a piece of shit and they're lying. So let's share the screen so I can show you what I'm talking about. Fair use.
Look, it doesn't surprise me because we elected a president from a basement. He was not tested. The only challenge he had was that on that debate stage where President Trump absolutely trounced him in that final debate. So we elected someone without any real scrutiny who had, by the way, a horrible record in foreign policy. We've all heard the Gates quote about him being wrong on every major foreign policy decision. So all of a sudden, a few months in, 8 months in, people realize, oh, wait, inflation's coming. So he has a 39% approval rating on the economy. Oh, wait.
Inflation was inevitable. And later this week, I'll do a video about how it's also affecting other communities when it comes to inflations you wouldn't know about, or you probably don't pay attention to. But my thing about that is this lady talking about this was a president from the basement. I mean, he was selected. My whole entire idea about this was there was something that Trump was doing behind closed doors that a lot of the Congress, a lot of the people in office wasn't in the cabinet wasn't agreeing with, and they wanted to find a swift way of making sure this guy got out of office. So who did they select? Biden, an old fart who had nothing more but racist tendencies in his whole entire tenure of being in a political position since the 1970s, knowing damn well this guy was a goddamn racist, and he done shit directly to oppose and demean so-called black people and have done other things out there for the deterioration of the American land in the US. But this is who you voted for.
COVID, he wasn't prepared for that either. It was President Trump that gave us the vaccine. All of a sudden, his poll numbers tanking there. Crime, immigration, you name it.
But that's not front like Trump. Trump would have played the game too. And I really have to say this because a lot of people is thinking, oh, Trump would have never, you know what I mean? Yeah, he didn't agree with it, but there would be some way he'd have to compromise into the whole thing. This is why I say either or, Biden or Trump, there is no way you is not going to let the higher uppers not get to the plans that they wanted to get to, whether it be through Trump or whether it be through Biden. They all had to play the game. That's all I'm saying.
And then the Afghanistan withdrawal, which I think just crystallized in everyone's mind how incompetent, how much of a buffoon this president actually is.
Well, former White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany has ripped into Joe Biden's embattled leadership in the month of August. Miss McEnany joined Fox News' Outnumbered as a co-host, where she slammed the US president for the botched withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan. The Fox hosts were going through a new Biden job approval poll, which was conducted by NPR, PBS NewsHour and Marist. It showed between the month of August to now in September, the president's approval rating has dropped. In August, 49% of those surveyed approve of what the president was doing, 44% disapproved, and 6% were unsure. Now, 43% approve of what the president is doing, 49%.
And in my honest opinion, people voted in Biden when they started that whole entire bullshit, the lesser of two evils, as if the lesser of two evils was going to help y'all asses become American in public. When you have this guy right here, who I said earlier already has done some very questionable things throughout his whole entire tenure in the political field, and this asshole on the left that had something to do with getting so-called black men locked up in prison for marijuana charges. Are you kidding me? This lady don't even understand foreign policy. Like I said before, man, the whole entire lesser of two evils trope really explained the ignorance of a lot of Americans. And I'm sorry to say it, but it just explained how surface level a lot of people think when it comes to voting. And even if I was really believing in the political field, I would want to know all the background information and all of the policies this person would institute before I ever dare step into a place to vote for these people. That's where y'all messed up. Some of y'all did. If y'all did y'all research and really seen that Biden was a good candidate, then, you know, all respects to you. I ain't got no beef with you. My thing is, when it came around to this whole entire thing was, oh, we just have to vote Trump out of office, or we have to see the lesser of two evils. It really spoke to the mindset of a lot of Americans who can't even think about the policies that's being instituted. In terms of education, infrastructure, the whole entire thing about job placement, about how a lot of these companies are outsourced to other areas. when it even comes to the idea about keeping it American, a lot of y'all didn't want to keep it American. And this is not about me agreeing with Trump or taking Trump's side, because like I said, I didn't really care about either president, in my opinion. I believe all of them still had to abide by or have to play the game as a sitting president, because the president is not the automatic one that makes all the decisions, okay? There's still other consorts he has to go through, conduits he has to go through in order for things to be regulated and pushed through.
Disapprove and 6% are unsure. Kayleigh McEnany said the results were unsurprising because he was the president elected from the basement. The Afghanistan crisis and the way the Biden administration handled the operation has been criticised from both sides of politics for weeks now. When it comes to foreign policy in general, Biden has been accused of being too soft and too inexperienced when making final decision on high policy matters. Former Defence Secretary Robert Gates, who worked in both Republican and Democrat administrations, wrote in his 2014 memoir that Joe Biden had been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. After Joe Biden met with Vladimir Putin in June in Geneva, the US president was ridiculed.
Is it just me, or was Joe Biden the one that slept when he went to that press conference? Am I bugging? Let me know in the comment section. Didn't he go to sleep during that time? I mean, Lord have mercy.
For looking to be too soft, with Donald Trump even calling the meeting a good day for Russia. Sticking to the August 31 deadline of withdrawing troops led to the collapse of the Afghanistan government and the takeover of the Taliban. The decision has left Joe Biden's leadership under the microscope, and as Fox News' Pete Hesketh puts it, the Afghanistan crisis is what has left an imprint on Americans.
I can tell you what it is, Pete. You know, they're contrary to what the left says. They say we don't have any binding principles as Americans as they try to wipe away the things that unite us. But one of those central principles is caring for one another, is not leaving another American behind. It's central to who we are. I don't have to tell you, Pete, it's central to the military, as you know well. So I think when I saw the polling, and it was extraordinarily high numbers of people who said, no, I don't want to leave Americans behind, and even a majority saying, I don't want to leave Afghan allies behind, like the interpreter that helped you and so many others. That principle, when it came into question, when we lost a war we fought for 20 years, left Americans behind, Afghans hanging from planes, and 13 U.S. service members dead after 18 months of not losing a service member, I think it just really rubbed Americans the wrong way, because it's against everything that we stand together united for.
And quickly, I want to show you some more stuff that I had found out. I mean, I'll send an article out in my description, but you know, basically, so you get an understanding. You know, this is just an overview about exactly what it says. I'm going to read it really quickly and get to the tweets. So, shout out to Washington News, I believe this is called. The Washington Times, excuse me. Buyer's remorse. More Biden voters regretting their choice. Not surprising. 2 significant polls now reveal that a considerable number of voters regret voting for President Biden back on Election Day in 2020. That's because a lot of people thought at a surface level. I'm sorry to say it, but this is exactly the argument I've always had. A lot of people just sat there and gave away that trope like, lesser of 2 evils, without even actually doing proper research on what this man has done throughout his whole entire field of politicians. And I'm not letting Trump off the hook either. He was a businessman. He was a businessman that found his way into the presidency. And the last time I heard about dudes that didn't really have qualifying experiences in a political field was the President Reagan in the 1980s. Because he was an actor. That's what I heard. A new Zogby poll finds that a 1/5 of likely U.S. voters who voted for Biden are now sorry that they chose him to lead the country. Why does this matter? If you take into consideration the size of the electorate and how the last 2 presidential elections, 2016 and 2020, which was a complete shit show in my opinion, were decided by tens and thousands of voters in a handful of battleground states, this could really hurt President Biden's chances in 2024, the poll analysis noted. In my opinion about that though, like, the whole entire thing about the 2024 thing, like, it's a likelihood either there might be a shakeup where they might get rid of this whole entire presidency thing, and I know that sounds crazy, or if y'all thinking that Donald Trump is going to come back into office, my only entire thing about that is Trump is going to have to compromise more than he has before. Like, he's not going to be able to pull the same shit or do the same thing he's done when he was president for those first 2 years. While noting that he still has time to recover, which he probably won't, the analysis said that what's interesting is our poll was taken before the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan. Indeed, the poll of 2,173 registered U.S. voters who chose Mr. Biden was conducted August 5th to 13th. A new Rasmussen Reports survey also uncovered some regret. It found that if the next presidential election, emphasis on if, were held today, 37% of likely U.S. voters would choose Mr. Biden, 43% would pick former President Donald Trump, and 14% say they would vote for some other candidate. A survey of 1,000 likely U.S. voters were conducted August 16th to 17th. The Biden administration, the Joe Biden's presidency, was supposed to be the return of the adults in charge, yet it has turned into one mismanaged crisis after another. From the mission accomplished victory speech in July over COVID-19 to the botched Afghanistan withdrawal that continues to result in death and destruction, Biden has not offered voters much in the way of confidence, writes Nate Ashworth, founder of ElectionCentral.com, who examined both polls. Much of this perception could be changed in the coming months, I doubt it, as some of these headlines fade. Already, the Biden administration is trying to pivot away from Afghanistan and back toward friendlier territory, such as arguing with the FDA and CDC over booster shot, he says. Oh, man. I mean, look, listen. You get what you ask for. I don't even think I really have an opinion on this because I'm trying my best not to ridicule people for their decisions. But just at the same time, it always wandered in the back of my head how much of a moron you would have to be if you really did not do your research on who you was trying to vote for. I'm not saying you should have never voted for Biden. I'm saying if you were one of those people out there that went and voted because of lesser of two evils, to me, you just are a surface level thinker. You know, you don't do the proper research. You just vote off of what is popular. And that is a problem with a lot of people of today. They don't do research and they don't read on their whole entire thing before how they're about to elect someone to basically serve for them in this country. You understand? That's my whole entire thing. Okay, so we're gonna get to these tweets right now. There's certain tweets out here that's talking about how Andrew Yang. The first two was talking about Andrew Yang. You know, they should have voted for Andrew Yang. I'm going to leave my opinion about Andrew Yang out of this, but just to get to this because I find it completely hilarious, low key. This one says that Camilla Camper. I voted for Biden because public opinion was not swaying towards Hawkins within the last month or so before 11/3. I was just really desperate to get Trump out of office, but never again will I vote for a Biden-like Dem. I voted for Bernie in the primary. Does this vid apply to me? Like I said before, it wasn't even about understanding exactly who you was voting for, or what was their policies or anything. It was just based off the idea of voting Trump out of office. That's my only problem. Y'all had to do research, even if you still understood what Bernie, like I said before, if you wanted to vote for Biden, based off the idea that you knew what his policies was and you thought that his policies was better than Trump, then my beef is not with you. That's all I'm saying. Some of this is from like 2020, so I'm trying to find some of the tweets that say it, but you know. Yeah, everyone else says we would need a time machine, John. He says, any way I could get you to reverse that, Andrew Yang. Some of these tweets is pretty funny, but this guy actually says that he agrees with voting for Joe Biden. If that's his belief, that's fine. I regret my vote for at Hillary Clinton, but I will not regret my vote for Joe Biden because I am not voting him. I will never vote for a corporatist again. We live in a dying world that is being consumed by corporate greed, and I won't support evil in any form, not even a lesser one. Well, in that opinion, you're saying, sir, at the end of the day, you live in a corporate society anyway. You're living in a capitalist system. So regardless if it was Trump or Joe Biden, America was still going to operate by a capitalist system or corporatist system regardless. Corporate greed is the way that America is. So it doesn't change any facts or fiction of what you believe in. So this one also said this shit. But this was it. Oh, well, this is from 2017. But you guys, I tried to find more of these tweets out here just to show you exactly what it is. You know. So this guy says right here, I believe this is a so-called black man that's saying this. LMAO, nah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to regret voting for this nigga Biden. That's what exactly he says. But I mean, teach his own, y'all. This one right here says, I don't know if I would call myself a communist, more like a beginning stage leftist. I voted for Biden on the grounds that I thought he would handle the pandemic better and some lives would be saved. Money helped, but would be given to the struggling. It's not what's happening. I regret it. All right. I'm glad this doesn't, I don't know what the hell this guy has in the avatar. It looks a little bit inappropriate, but I'm going to try to just read this. So block this out to watch this right now. So it says, all the people who told me that voting third party was a vote for Trump are now saying they regret voting for Biden and I'm here for it. I understand, brother. I completely understand that. My biggest regret is voting for Biden. I have never been emotionally engaged with election previously, but this time I will. I will contribute, campaign, tweet, etc. against the Biden administration. That's bullshit. Like I said, if you voted for Biden without no understanding and this, that, and third, you did have an emotionally charged way of voting because you wanted to get Trump out of office just because of how he acted. Not on any policies you've seen that he was going against and all these different things on the American land. Imagine running on a platform for unity and then leaving 40 million people in the dust. I voted for Biden and I believe he's taking great first steps on climate and immigration, but this is inexcusable. I'm gonna read one more of these tweets and be out. So this one says, this lady says, Joe Biden, oh my God, you lied. Now you are not planning on sending out relief payments to us right away. I can't even begin to say how angry that it's going to make people who need it and voted for you. Don't do it. Don't make us regret voting for you on the first day. Dear God. So what are you guys' thoughts in the comment sections? What do you think about my commentary on this? Please make sure you give your opinion on this completely, whether you agree or disagree. Otherwise than that, peace.